It's cool. They are very willing to experiment and have a little fun. And this is a map where they may have a little bit of freedom to do so. The next map is Tomb of the Spider Queen.
All right, that sounds a little bit more standard, a little bit less crazy. So let's see how many role switches we're going to see. Also Portugal, by the way, Godstorm going on that main ranged assassin on the Kel'Thas. And I think overall, given the fact that they were outdrafted, Kel'Thas played really well and get a lot of damage done.
I do think the Kel'Thas did play well, but I don't think it performed very well though. You saw in the early game, they actually managed to get Johanna over the wall with Garrosh. A fantastic play on Zabina's side, but definitely a misplay from Banner Bear. And it did not matter. Johanna actually survived by breaking the wall and walking out.
Yeah, she was able to tank through, and maybe another hero might have been able to burn through that Johanna health, but that is not what happened, as we are heading into the draft for game number 2 in this final series of the day.
All right, Russia, what you got for us? Because they were the ones choosing, or they got the map pick, excuse me, because Portugal wanted to have first pick, first ban.
First ban. We, on this map, less priority on potentially the Dahaka as we've seen on a couple maps, but it could still work.
Could still work. I mean, it's hard to say what Portugal should fall back on because you couldn't really tell what worked for them in game number 1. Maybe Abathur was the problem here. I definitely wouldn't like to see it again on Tomb of the Spider Queen. I think it's not one of the better maps. I would love to see a Kel'Thas again. I think it's a hero that could work much better here than a Warhead.
It does help with the rotations very nicely, but just very quickly, guys, remember you can keep voting for which team you think is going to win. If you think Russia are going to close out the series after that convincing first game, then you can type in #RUWin into the chat. Or if you think those potential mistakes we saw from them last time and some good attempts at a comeback from Team Portugal will be enough, you can use the code #PTWin.
Right. A hero that I want to mention here, I'm not sure if you guys agree with me. Zul was picked a lot in the first couple of days, and it could be a hero here. Like, just give me your general thoughts on Zul.
I think Zul is a hero that's very flawed. He's very one-dimensional. He does one thing, and that is push out the lanes. And if he doesn't do that, and if he can't survive the lane phase, then he does very little in the later team fights. However, if he is able to get to the later team fights and your team has a map pressure advantage, then he can make some huge plays. Like we saw actually from Holotype, he made some huge Zul flanks that definitely won them the game on Tomb of the Spider Queen against Sweden.
Yep, and it can also be in a situation where, like you said, he doesn't scale that well damage-wise or teamfight-wise into the later game, but his anti-healing talents later on can be a huge difference maker. It's just something that we don't normally see because Zul teams seem to either win in the mid-game or lose before the late game.
Yeah, I think anti-healing is going to be the name of the game, though, in general for Portugal, because I don't think Russia is going to play with a role swap like that again. I think they're going to fall back onto the key strengths with his maybe double support. The Genji here is also a strong indicator of that. Brightwing alone with the Genji is only a thing Sweden would do.
So I'm looking at the Genji Brightwing combination, and I'm thinking Russia want to practice this. So what we're going to see is we're going to see Genji swift strike in, using his E, all the way into the middle of the enemy team. Brightwing is going to land and be an Emerald Wind bomb. And instantly cast it, is going to split the team up, and they're going to try and get kills from that isolation.
It's like the trick people used to do the same thing with Zeratul, only this is much easier because Genji is much longer range for his engage potential.
It looks like Twitch chat is a huge fan of the Brightwing
Oh
Genji.
my!
90% to 10%.
That is
the highest we have seen.
Absolutely the highest we have seen. It was actually on 91 for a very short amount of time there. But yeah, there we go. Leading back, there we go. A couple Portugal fans in the chat wanting to see them do it because we did see those team fights they pulled. Zenobit just did everything he could to try and pick up those kills. There's always the potential of that.
Yeah, now they... Oh,
there's the Zul.
So, there is a reason why I brought up this Zul, because as Bakery said, Holotype played really well in the Zul, and I think this is a battleground where it could work. Oftentimes when you face a double support, which is very much something Russia can do, you want to counter that by strong rotations and a lot of pressure on structures early.
Anna banned out. We also saw Anna working very well with Zul. Actually, even more healing reduction. Like you said, healing reduction, the name of the
healing
game.
reduction, so huge.
But Russia, they've been shown to do their research, banning out the Anna, removing some of that extra, leaving healing reduction down to Malfurion, Varian, and I'm missing one, Malthael.
Yeah. And now we have to ask ourselves, how flexible is the Portuguese team? How well can they adapt? They did struggle a little bit when it came to that when they played against Sweden. You got the feeling that at some point they ran out of ideas. And against the Russian team, I really think you need to be very flexible. You need to be very open-minded because, as we saw, the hero pool of Russia is one of the largest ones we have in the game, in the tournament.
So, like you said, very wide hero pool, very wide talent pool as well, which is what we've been seeing. We already saw the Judgment in game number 1, which was absolutely fantastic. And in the last series, we saw Vikings come in, Hydra's Vikings, absolutely terrifying in this tournament, potentially even rivaling Vortexes.
Yeah, Hydra is just a beast when it comes to picking heroes you would never expect to see. I mean, we saw, like, when he was on the HGC roster of Synergy, we saw him pick the Rexstar.
He qualified for HGC with the Rexstar as well.
Yeah. Even on this battleground on Triple Spider Queen, where not many people would expect it, and the Kel'Thas stays in the game.
You are being a prophet for this game. You've called almost every pick, but the Stitches comes in as a bit of a surprise here.
Yeah. So, is this the statement? Are they saying, we will show you how to play Kel'Thas?
Potentially, we've seen the Kel'Thas work so well with the Stitches. They've got a combo set up here. One that was popularized by potentially a couple teams from Europe, one of which might have a ex-representative here on this panel.
Bakery, in all honesty, was that something Mene ever said? Come on, I'm going to show you how to do this.
Definitely not sounding like that, but he, yeah, there definitely has been that sentiment before of, oh my god, they just picked my hero and they did not play it well. Let me show them how it's done.
All right, I like it.
So yeah, they so far we can see Team Russia, they have great blow-up potential. Hook into Kel'Thas stun, into potential polymorph, get the Emerald Wind to zone out whoever tries to save the hero, and we see the reaction from Portugal. Lots of protection, sound barrier, protected by the way, force of will to try and keep anyone who does get hooked in alive.
Well, all I have to say is that when we used to play this Stitches Kel'Thas combo, the only thing we were scared of is Medivh. It's an absolute hard counter. It's a protection for all of the bursts. It's a portal immediately after the stun ends.
Yeah, it's a funny interaction. On the one hand, Medivh is so good when he's in the same team as Stitches, but as you said, he can also be the worst nightmare when he continuously prevents the Stitches from getting good hooks.
It's the Li Ming, and Nubrak combination where they work really well against each other. Put them on the same team though, and Nuke steps up really well for Li Ming. It works brilliantly. But guys, we see our second Medivh of the tournament. The first one was pretty good, but was not able to win. Do you think in this particular comp, this Medivh could be the difference maker?
I want to hear your thoughts first.
After looking at the 3 previous games that Russia have played here in the tournament at the Nexus games, it's very hard to say, I think they will lose. But if there was ever a game that they were going to drop to Portugal, it's this one. That Medivh is a fantastic pick.
I remain a little bit unconvinced of Portugal's picks here. I think they require a lot of expertise and a lot of, synergy.
Yeah.
Against Sweden, we couldn't always see that. We got the feeling that they were rather limited in the way they played their draft, so I think Russia is it.
All right, final votes?
Gonna go with Russia.
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 Russia. I went for Portugal last time. I'm going for it this time. I have believe in the Guardian of Azeroth. What a bro. As we are heading into potentially the last game of the day. And Kendrick, who is the team on the left?
On the left-hand side, we've got the Russian team here with Unstable, Mr. Bannerbeer, Kuni-chan, Kruglik, and Hydra.
And on the right-hand side, this is going to be Team Portugal with Caps, Psych, Zabina, Holotype, and Godstorm.
Godstorm, there's going to be a lot of responsibilities on his shoulders now, just like Psych though. Psych and Godstorm, those two I think are going to play a crucial role. Godstorm because of the damage, obviously, and Psych because of everything else. He needs to keep his allies safe from Stitches. He also needs to enable big plays dropping that Leyline Seal. Let's see how it works out.
Lots of sprays coming down in this early stage of the game. Just no early aggression, and immediately they start throwing out the abilities. Stitches starting off with a slam build to help clear out the waves, and Godstorm with a fell flame build here, not going for that corruption as we saw in some of the earlier games.
Yeah, and there we go. Now Psych already in trouble. Drops a portal though. Nice exit here for him to stay safer. Holotype on that Azul once again. By the way, we mentioned it earlier as well. He just seems to feel very comfortable. Those baby rage skeletons though, not sure about that.
They are, like you said, they are very upset about being in existence. Luckily they have a timed life, so it's not so bad. As we do see a hook onto Lucio, who immediately boots back Mr. Bannerbear, so it's not so bad. Lucio able to escape.
What if it's always the same 5 skeletons though?
Oh, and they just keep being brought back?
Maybe that's why they're so bad.
Eternal torment for the Zul skeletons. Oh, now we're just adding lore to the game. As Holotype will play back. But Leoric, with his new cleaving auto attacks that he got a couple patches ago, it makes him a very good hero being in this lane against the Zul. He's able to clear out the skeletons very quickly.
Absolutely, and we can now see a couple of hook attempts from Bannerbear.
Yeah.
Don't let that fool you. I mean, sometimes as a Stitches player, you just have to undertake certain risks, especially if you want to go for those flashy plays. And even if you miss, like, let's say 12, 13, 14 hooks in the early mid-game, that one golden one is all it takes.
And the fact is, even if you are missing hooks, blind hooks, as long as you're managing your mana correctly, aren't the worst thing in the game. As long as you do not preface them with, hey guys, check this out, and then completely miss.
Exactly. What we can see here, though, definitely good rotations by Team Portugal. They have 20 gems turned in out of 50 already. Wow. And that is definitely an advantage they have over their Russian opponents up to this point. Level 4 hits for both teams now. Nothing out of the ordinary up to this point.
As we do see Kuni-chan popping up into the top lane, putting on a little bit of poke damage. Yep. Unstable.
Oh, that's not too bad of a hook. But as we can see, the immediate force of will to protect the ETC.
And the immediate face melt as well, denying away that Netherwind, which could have been the potential follow-up, which would have mean the force of will would have expired.
So essentially, there is only a couple of targets that are worth hooking. Medivh,
that's one of them! Oh, and that's what happens when you do land the combo before force of will or before some CC to interrupt the Gale Blast.
And especially if there's KT nearby, who's going to drop the Gravity Lapse immediately as a follow-up CC chain. There's a couple of heroes who can do it. Uther, Kel'Thas, and Malfurion are probably the 3 most prominent ones.
Tyrande used to be, but she has really dropped out of preference. I'm pretty sure, actually, to be fair, every stun combo that has been in Heroes of the Storm, Tyrande and Uther have been a part of.
Oh, this was baited.
It was very much baited. Medivh's on the way. Zabina with the great face melt, keep himself alive. Holotype gets Force of Will through the portal, and now the team is grouped, and everyone will be able to get out.
You know, at some point, it becomes very predictable on when an enemy hero tries to interrupt you from paying. And I think ETC wanted a little bit too much there. Stitches really seems to have found a liking on Sabina, but the mighty cow refuses to fall.
Gravity Lapse just short. It was timed a little bit better this time, actually coming out before ETC could land any CC, but it did miss. So therefore, ETC was able to face melt and power slide away.
We don't see Convection, by the way, on Kel'Thas, which is a very important difference to many Hero League games. Convection is probably one of the most punishing talents in the game, next to maybe Master's Touch on Medivh. Because if you die, you lose them all, and as such, the Mana Addict is a much safer route.
Stable, clearing the minions. They're not going aggressive for gems, which is good, as Genji is rooted. These jailers, actually, level 4 talent for the Zul, working very well at putting pressure on the Kuni-chan. Blind hook, once again, sometimes you just gotta try. Not landing this time. But so far, both teams putting pressure onto each other in different ways. 68 gems available for Russia, and so far they've not been able to turn them in.
Yeah, there's a lot of gems available for the Russian team, but Portugal is doing such a good job at preventing those turn-in points from being taken by them. So it must feel very frustrating. 69 right now for Russia. really need those gems and they really need to pay them in. But Medivh is providing the vision, so the poke can be landed even more precisely. And Genji is now in trouble, protected by the way, saves him for now.
Genji is being bullied this game.
Kuni
Quite
not
the
having a good
opposite.
time.
However, as long as we can get to the late game and he can get his recess, he's gonna be fine. Vanderveer interrupted. This is really nice by Portugal consistently with these interruptions. Also, I'm pretty sure that we are actually seeing a different Zul skin, so the sound effects are different.
What do you mean?
The sound effects on the laughing skeletons are slightly different. I think that might be the case, or maybe it just depends on which ones die at which time.
I think it's your imagination. They sound as terrible as always. Your imagination. All right.
I will say, the thing I noticed, which I did not know about before, is those dual skeletons with the Halloween skin, each one has a different hat.
Hey, I didn't know that either.
I didn't know that. I saw a Cho head, and I saw a, I think a Rhaegar head, so cool, good to know.
I need to play that skin right now. I didn't even know
Really
they had
good.
masks of other heroes in the Nexus.
It's really cool to see, and we will keep... But for now, though, we are back into the actual game, and just in time for the first turn-in, and it's by Portugal, who have been in very good control this game of the turn-in points.
Yeah, very nice. Now it's up for the Russian team to minimize the damage they're going to take, because as long as they manage to keep the even level, it's good for the Stitches team, because one blind hook in the late game can really make all the difference. However, if you're 2-3 levels behind, you may not have the necessary burst damage to immediately pop the target.
Holotype protected by the way, but that Drain Hope, the extra range that Hydra took on that level 7, allowing him to still do a little bit of poke damage to that Zul.
Right, and here come the Brood Mothers, the Wave Weavers. They knock against the towers. They take 1 and 2 down in the middle. Top lane, Brightwing needs to be careful because enemies are already on the way.
Do see Portugal trying to put on that pressure in the top lane. The only remaining Web Weaver so far, a slow reaction coming in from Russia. They don't seem to be willing to put on a heavy defense here. That's actually the entire front wall and the fountain in top lane goes down. In the meantime, though, Zul is ganked in the bot lane, but is able to escape back to his fountain.
And this is where the abundance of wave clear that the Portuguese team has is starting to kick in. However, big kudos to the Russian team. They managed to stay close in XP, which is something it's not guaranteed when you just lost that many towers.
Sabina hiding away, looking for Russia's attempt at a turn-in as they have 82 gems.
82, man.
Whereas Portugal, they're turning in again. Jailer's complete, by the way. Very nicely done as heroics become available.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a problem. I think Team Russia, as much as they do want to pay, they're not playing this smartly enough. They could go for a mercenary camp, distract the enemy team this way. They could try to shuffle their rotations a little bit more, and Hydra in the top lane, for example, and then go for bottom. The other ones, that's a good one, but Medivh is here to save the Zul.
Where's the portal? Not needed. The sound barrier is very good. Boschman interrupted by the queued up Emerald's Wind, and Sabina will retreat here. So far, only Leoric is falling here.
Okay, let's see. How many gems were they able to recover? It looks good to me. They're
Zul, not enough! He goes down and spreads the living bomb to Psyche in the process.
And that is the beauty of sustained poison / burning damage over time, because they don't care about the short time of invulnerability here from the Medivh. It continues to tick, and that was enough to make Zul say goodbye.
Sabina takes the portal to freedom, but this has been enough time for Russia to get their first turn of the game and get rid of 50 of their 80-something gems.
Yeah, they still have a couple left, that's for sure. Now Genji carrying 20 gems all by himself alone.
Yeah.
Now what can they do? Heroic abilities were all used in that last engagement for both teams, except for the March of the Black King. So I think we're going to see a very conservative push attempt from the Russian team, if any.
We are seeing them try to put some pressure on ETC with some aggressive defensive strategies. Again,
got the Frog already, by the way.
Yeah, Frog Rock already done. Stacking has been really well done by basically every hero. Only heroes who aren't complete are Medivh, fairly obviously with Master's Touch. We don't have the party mix complete yet. Fell Flame has a little bit to go. And Kael'thas would have had to have rotated insanely to have completed his Mana Addict so far.
Okay, so now what we need to pay attention to is the Russian team should definitely try to get a nice position near those turn-in points so they can pay immediately again after the wave viewers disappear. So that's very, very important. Otherwise, they could try to... pick Mercenaries again. I'm not sure why both teams are ignoring Mercenaries that much.
Hydra!
Oh my goodness.
The good disengage. Hydra is absolutely going down. The Horrify is good as Stitches just pieces out, and the Brutal Unstable. They try to finish him off. Godstorm with the Drain Skeleton! He dies and he survives. We see Caps being forced back. Moshpit on only Stitches as Kunichan going in with the Dragon Blade, but he is poisoned. He goes down as well.
He goes down, and it is a 2-for-1 trade in favor of the Portuguese team. It was so close for Kel'Thuz's, but Genji couldn't have the same amount of luck. KT used it all. And all of a sudden, it is the Portuguese team, the Red Wave Weavers. They're coming forth, and they're trying to help their teammates out.
And we are going to see Saiga and Caps and Zabina going to try and push with this Web Weaver, because last time they only really got the front wall of top lane and got the mid lane a little bit later. Now they're trying to get the last remaining wall in the bot lane, get some more XP, and that will get them level 13. But the fact is, right now, Russia is still even with them.
This is such a close game. Both teams just hit level 13. We have the ominous Wraith now ready for Lyric. It's minimizing the damage that could possibly go through. Back in the mix for Lucio. That is going to be very useful against all the CC, Polymorph, Stun, Hook. It's all going to heal him.
It's all going to heal him, and that could be a big deal, especially against the burst damage that someone like Kael'thas offers, and it's a good ability for countering those Stitches hooks, making sure that he is as healthy as possible when he arrives into, well, is essentially death, but it makes it slightly less death.
And also, Zul with the Flowing Death will get a lot of additional damage in. That is, of course, the crucial talent to pick if you're planning on going Mortal Wounds at 20.
28 stacks on Master's Touch. Medivh better not die, or he is going to be very upset. 29 stacks on Master's Touch as he begins to move to the middle. He could just complete it against Leoric, but instead he moves up to come help his team.
Yeah, those are the moments where your hand's starting to get a little bit sweaty. There we go. That's the moment where you start to feel really good and warm inside.
As we do see Syke now with that complete Master Touch, he is... you like to say he is okay to die, but it is never okay to die unless you are a Leoric. Tactical feeding.
Unless you're Variant, because your deaths will always have meaning.
Just wanted to see how long we can keep that one going, but there is actually stuff.
I will never back down on my Variant.
As we do see Kunichan putting pressure onto Syke here, drops the portal so he can get better positioning. Hook not landing, he thought he'd do some portal micro. I like the game sense here by Banabir.
Yeah, Banabir was trying to hope that somebody would maybe step back through the portal, maybe come back to see what's going on at the turning point. So definitely worth giving it a shot here. And of course, what's up?
The fact is, we are seeing, instead of like quickening that we sometimes see, we see astral projection on the portal, the extra range.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense because the casting range, or the range in general of astral projection, helps you to really cover the distance just in case Stitches were to pick the fishing hook, for example.
Exactly. So very heads-up play here by Syke with that talent choice. As we do see, however, the big push from Russia, putting on that counter pressure. They are ahead in XP, despite having lost the majority of these Web Weaver turn-ins.
Yep, and here they come. Portuguese backdooring with the portals. Zabina, is he going to stay here? Is he going to piece it?
Oh!
He gets the Kel'Thuz's big pick here.
Horrify is used as well. Godstorm barely alive. Needs to move back. He gets a Consume Soul on the minion so he can back up here. Syke is very low as well. And it's the 1-for-0 in favor of Portugal. And they move back to clear the Web Weavers. Bot Web Weaver, however, has managed to kill the fort.
So that's basically the name of the game here. They did get the kill. That is awesome. Don't get me wrong. However, they had several heroes dropping to 5 or even 4% of the health, and they had to disengage. In the meantime, Web Weavers were pushing in the bottom. They were able to get a fort. Middle and top were damaged greatly. So it was not all bad and gloomy for the Russian team here, despite losing KT.
It really was not. They were able to, like you said, put pressure on, get XP, extend their lead at least a little, but not much. Portugal now super close to level 16, in fact, to that kill. We do see Zabina pulling it back. Also, I like the fact that Genji and Stitch are synergizing with green builds, because of course Genji is going for a full dash build, absolutely committing to those Swift Strike resets.
Going for that. Very cool to see. Both teams sitting at 70 gems, 73 now on the side of Portugal. So both of them could get another launch of Web Weavers. Now, who's going to pull the trigger first? Hydra takes a little bit of damage, uses the Ominous Wraith, tries to minimize the damage that the Portuguese team can deal on him.
Zabina really sticking with the playstyle we've seen from him so far. Okay, very aggressive with Showstopper at level 16, getting an extra little bit of armor. Whenever ETC uses an ability, he gains 20 armor. With Showstopper, he gains an extra 15, which is going to be extra effective for him. Whereas Zool, the standard Bone Spear. More damage, please.
Yeah, definitely. The Bone Spear is really sweet. It's a nice, reliable extra tool of damage, especially later on if he goes for the additional vulnerable effects on his E. Could always be a nice surprise. However, it is time for Portugal. Once again, they unleash 3 angry spiders, but they need to make him work. All forts are still standing for Russia.
The final quest in the game has been completed with Mana Addict done. Very close on that hook. Banabir always keeping that pressure on.
Yeah, very true. Things are starting to get a little bit dicey here. Both teams play an incredibly safe game. Very little mistakes here on either side, really. I mean, if you take a look at the kill count, 3 to 4, there hasn't really been a lot of action going on in terms of kills, but in terms of how this game is played strategically with all those rotations, it's very, very fun to watch.
The hooks so far have not been the game-changing ability that we thought they might have been. And right now, I'm looking at Stitch's build, and I'm thinking I would not have hated him to pick that fishing hook. You said it yourself. Yes, astral projection from the portal could be good, but it's still an extra chance for picking up that kill, because so far they haven't been able to.
On the other hand, the extra damage on the slam is just so nice and tempting to give up sometimes.
The cooldown reduction and that mini and the extra mini slow can be a huge deal.
Very much so, especially if you want to make it easier for heroes like Kalthus to really land all of his abilities, to prevent the enemies from running out of it in time. Now we also have the double Flame Strike, by the way, for Kalthus at level 16, the Fury of the Sunwell. And that, we haven't really seen too many longer, drawn-out team fights, but if they stay in those flames for too long, it could really end very quickly for the Portuguese team.
And also, if he's able to get to 20, that's a lot of gems. Yeah. And Psych dies, and he falls of wills, and he gets out. Yeah, they need to move back in, so ETC is ready. He uses that Showstopper, putting the pressure onto Hydra, but Banabir, unattended, turns in 46 gems.
That's a big win.
Is dying.
Yeah, Hydra is almost dead. He's carrying 21 gems, and nobody's in any condition to pick those up. Still, 35 in possession of the Russian team. That's more than enough. Zabina is not the target you want to get.
Yeah, portal dropped just in case. A nice preemptive play here by Psych. Banabir did not pick Gorge or anything like that, which could have been a punishing ability. I was able to drop a follow-up stun because they were in retreat. But still, Psych always ready to react.
And the thing is, even if Russia got this turn in right now, would it really be that worth it? I mean, it's nice to have those spiders, don't get me wrong, but look at the lanes. They're all pushed in because Gul'dan and Zool were doing such a wonderful job at keeping the lanes deep pushed. So the spiders would have to start all the way from the back, losing so much health until they actually start hitting the buildings.
Monotype clearing up that mercenary camp, gonna try and get some more pressure. Like, with all the forts down of Russia, any pressure is good pressure, and this is what Bakery was talking about. The fact is, we're approaching the late game, and with the push potential that Portugal are getting, Zool is getting value, and he's putting on some really interesting shows in terms of the amount of pressure he can give.
And it's just like, Russia can't get a team fight. Whenever they get a hook, guess what? Who's ready? The last Guardian, and he's going to be a pain in the B. So it's really hard to really make anything work, and Russia would love to start a team fight. It's just Portugal doesn't let him.
Hydra dropping low. Oh, interesting thing there with Brightwing. Emerald Wind did go down. Moshpit does catch Genji. He gets killed by Caps. As we see Caps chasing forwards with Hydra. We're getting killed off a little bit earlier and dropping his bot to the Black King in the process, but it will be back up by the time he's alive.
All right, no Genji, and there is also no Stitches, no Leoric right now. Leoric will be back a little bit quicker. They keep hitting Zabina, and they can't even touch it. Beautiful. He's the untouchable cow who just tanks all that damage and laughs about it.
Level 20 is available. We see the tour bus for ETC. Could be huge. He's not managed to get a super solid mosh pit so far this game. We have Horns, we have a bonus track, and Andrahol's Visage coming in for Zool.
Yeah, and Dariel's Visage, man, everybody who played Diablo 2 will remember that name, and now the Poison Nova will start healing the Zool, which is insane. Like, if you hit a lot of the enemy team's heroes, Zul becomes one of the tankiest characters in the game.
And his skeletons now do even more damage, synergizing with the jailers from level 4, synergizing with the Tragul's essence, because those skeletons are going to continuously hit things even harder.
I think the thought process behind it is also very smart. Like, the Mortal Wound is nice, but if there's only one Brightwing support, that's not a lot of healing you will be able to deny, because her healing comes so sporadically and so slowly. Hold that thought off, Stable is in trouble.
Sabina is also getting focused down quite a bit. The Medivh cheats, grabs 3 members here. And Sabina does have the Tor Bus, remember. Here comes the March of the Black King, getting some good damage onto the ETC.
It's crazy. The Russian aggression is relentless. They're actually willing to hook someone into their team's backline despite not being level 20. Other teams would have played that much more defensively.
And there is the chance that that person into the backline could be ETC. If Force of Will lands on him and he lands the Mosh Pit, which is currently on cooldown because it was interrupted partway through that fight.
Absolutely. And now we see the potential game over if Portugal plays that well. The Wave Bearers are scaling very nicely. They're basically being deployed right next to the towers. Bull is in trouble.
He stays alive and goes through the portal. ETC, the short cooldown on Mosh Pit is now up. This is risky play here by Russia, but they do now have
Hype dies, they're in trouble.
We are seeing the Mosh Pit. He grabs, well, he grabbed one, but he immediately has to power slide out as he was getting in trouble. The Horrify was so good. Banabit doing some crazy work here. Psych is keeping his entire team alive, though, as they move forward. Down goes Genji. Stitches gets stunned, and he is dropped as Portugal are moving in for the key.
Triple kill on the side of Portugal. The Wave Bearers are still pushing in. They can get this middle, and the Russian team has long death timers, except for Leoric. It looks like Portugal wants to go for the core.
Kael'thas is alive, though.
He
is some of the highest damage. He moves into the core to get them out. His flamethrower has the extra range. This will help him, but the core is beginning to drop, and the health bars have ticked up thanks to that Lucio. Medivh Jeans gets both of the defending members, and Portugal move on to the core, and that is going to be GG as Portugal bring us to a 1-1.
Nobody believed in the Portuguese team. Twitch chat didn't, except for a small minority. The desk didn't really believe in them.
What? I voted for Portugal. You called me a bro.
I called you a bro indeed. Well, Tetra believed in them.
Yeah.
But what a prediction there. Portugal played their game so well. The early game was being utilized to the max with all that wave clear. Russia never really seemed to get a grip on it, but the all-deciding factor, Bakery, was, as you said, the Medivh.
The Medivh was absolutely crucial to that Portuguese team. I said it in the draft. I said if there's ever time, and if there is ever a draft where Portugal can win, that was it. It was the Medivh, and I should have believed in them. Sorry, guys.
Well, we all should have believed, and I can't wait for game number 3 to see how the polls are going to go there.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see the polls. Maybe we'll get a 90% Portugal vote. But for now, Bakery, what do you have to show us from that game?
I'm afraid I only have one replay for that game, but it does highlight how crucial the Medivh was. So as we start, we see Leoric gets caught, as he did quite often this game. We roll it forward. I want you to watch Psych on the Medivh. He goes through the portal. Look at this ley line. Perfectly catches them. However, Zabina's not in position, so Godstorm needs to follow with Fear. The Fear is not the one he wants. It's just on the edge. It sends both people away. But he wants the Kael'thas kill. He commits so far ahead of his team. And the literally 1 HP on Kael'thas. He does not get the kill. Now he gets hooked in. Fantastic hook by Mr. Bannerbear. Kuni-chan on Genji commits him for the kill, but he does end up going down to that Poison Nova damage. Ends up being a 2-for-1, but what a fantastic play by Psych on that Medivh.
Yeah, Psych, he basically owned this game. He possessed it.
He lived up to his name. Every time someone was hooked in, it's just like, yeah, we got to kill. Psych, Force of Will, protected by the way, and even the extra range portal to rescue them sometimes.
Yeah, that was a cute move. We talked about it during the cast that a potential fishing hook looked a lot less attractive now with the extra range on the portals. And indeed, the Russian team didn't go for it, but I don't think it would have made that much of a difference if they had.
I don't think so, no.
Well, guys, we have one more game, but first we are going to give the players time to go have a bio bait, grab themselves a drink, as you guys can as well, as we will be back with the final game of this series after a very short break. Don't go anywhere.